Welcome to What the Mom podcast. You are listening to Doulas Petra
and Jacqueline.
Motherhood can be isolating and hard.
We are two doulas who want to provide a safe place to talk about all things mom,
From pregnancy
to birth,
to postpartum.
to parenting.
Join us as we have real conversations about real life.
Welcome to What the Mom podcast.
You are listening to Doulas Petra
And Jacqueline. Hi, guys.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Woohoo. What episode is this?
Episode number 33.
Wow.
Today's topic is preparing a supportive birth environment.
I think that's really important. Absolutely.
It is, yes.
A good thing to talk about.
So we're thinking we'll share some tips from both our own personal experiences as well as other people that we know, that either births that we've been to or people that we've talked to.
Yeah.
Because it's going to look different for everybody.
Some people might be the kind of people who feel secure in a hospital. I personally did not feel secure in a hospital. I was super nervous. I know that when you're at home, you're so, when you're in labor, you're so vulnerable and it's going to be hard. And just to know that you're in your safe space, whatever that feels like to you. And so for me, it was at home. And it was an amazing experience. Obviously, it's still hard. And so, you really have to focus and stuff like that. But I knew myself personally, if I did go to the hospital, I'd just be way more tense, stressed. And I think it would have lingered on way longer. So I would say definitely choose where you're going to birth. It's really important to think about how you're feeling.
It's true. So like you said, so there's people that think like you, where they're more comfortable at home and they feel like it's less stressful. But then there's other people on the other end who they feel more comfortable in a hospital closer to the doctors, where if they need interventions, it's there right then and there. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
So I totally agree with you when you say you got to choose the environment that's best suited to however you feel.
Absolutely. Because if you're stressed, it's just going to make it longer and you can stall. There's so many different things that can happen. So having your mindset just I can do this and you're able to really focus is so important. It can really help intervention. So
yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
And there's also I know not everybody knows about this, especially if it's your first, but if you want a home birth, but you don't want to actually be in your home, there's birth centers in most places.
Yeah. And
there's also people that have given birth in hotel rooms that are close to the hospital.
My friend did. Yeah.
Yeah. There are lots of options that you can look into to figure out whatever is the best place for you to be giving birth.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So maybe we can just start by sharing our personal environments that we kind of use for our births, and then we can kind of add on to that with some other stuff.
Yeah.
So you want to start, Jacqueline?
Sure. So we're talking.
So maybe start with your first birth. Was there anything specifically that you did to prepare for a positive birth environment, or something that you did feel was good?
Well, no.
You had a birth pool.
I kind of just walked into it blindly. I knew it was gonna hurt. I don't know. That's hard because I didn't really pay attention to any of that the first time. I would say a little bit even in the third, but not really in the second. I did have a birth pool. Because I knew that I talked to other moms and they said that birthing in a pool was really awesome and it helped with pain management. And so I'm grateful I had that. I can't imagine how much harder it would have actually been if I didn't. Also just having a calm atmosphere. I told my husband, I said, I really just want my mom and like you and like the midwife. And he's like, well, what if my mom would want to be there? And I was like, well, first of all, she doesn't exactly support our choice, like, because she's afraid. And I get that. But also, like, that's really important to know, like, who is at your birth, because you want them to be like calm and collected and be able to like
Mm-hmm.
help keep you calm,
Mm-hmm.
because it can escalate really quick and then it can cause issues and intervention, the same kind of thing. So, yeah, that's another thing that I would say. And like, nothing against my mother-in-law. It's just like she would have just been like really high stressed in that environment. And I totally get it, because
Mm-hmm.
she had all of her babies in the hospital and she never really knew of anyone having a home birth. So it makes sense if you don't know what that is. I didn't
Yes.
really have, I mean, I kind of had like comforting foods that I would like. It's another thing that can help too.
Yeah, that's a
I
good one.
really loved popsicles, and funny enough, I liked fruit cups. They just like were hydrating and they were filling and
Yeah.
they were enough for me. So I think, yeah, that also kind of, calmed me. Also, I think, I don't remember if I had music. I think maybe for Ben I did. It's so hard to remember. He's 10 years old, so it's hard
Yeah.
when you forget what you ate for supper yesterday to remember what I
Yeah.
did for his birth. Even though it seems like it was yesterday.
In some ways it does, and then other ways it doesn't.
Absolutely, especially when they really get on your nerves and they push literally every button that you have. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, I would say the biggest thing for me is, yeah, having like a supportive midwife for sure. And just knowing that I could, I don't really have a choice. I'm going to do this, and I'm stronger than I think. And my husband was also very encouraging too, which is super important too. And so was the midwife. Like, I'll never forget, when they were telling me to push and stuff, and they were just so awesome. And it was really awesome. It was a great experience. It obviously, I think it could have been better if I would have had training, you know, and
Yeah.
like preparing more, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
to go run a marathon, you have to prepare, you have to train, right? And yeah, I just wish that I would have put more energy there, but
Did
shoulda, coulda, woulda. It's
did you
all
do
right.
anything different for your second that you didn't do with your first?
No, not really. No,
So it's very similar in terms of your environment that you had.
very similar. I don't think I had like, I don't even think I had really candles. I guess maybe I had candles going more than I didn't have that with Ben. I definitely remember that. I had a pool, same kind of thing,
Yeah.
with the same pool. Um, I'm just trying to remember. I don't think we really did anything different at all. I used the birth ball more. I think I understood like how a birth ball kind of helps and stuff with
Yeah.
position of baby and stuff, but other than that, like, yeah, I just wish that I would have prepared myself. So my advice is, yeah, if you are having a baby and you're not sure or whatever, it's your first or even your third or fourth, doesn't matter, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
just the more education you have, right? Like, if I would have known about hypnobirthing, maybe my experience would have been so much different,
Yeah.
right? Because that's an incredible thing that I saw you use,
Yeah.
and you had an awesome experience. So
And
yeah,
I'm excited to get to try it again in
I
just a
know.
couple more months.
It's crazy. Yep. And you'll do it just like you did the last time, right?
Yep. It's true.
Yeah. So I would say for me, like, I wish I would have prepared more.
Yeah. Which is why we're doing a podcast like this, right? So we can hopefully
Yeah.
help encourage other mothers
Yeah. That
to not feel that way. Yeah.
it all makes a lot of, sense to do that, because it can help make it a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, with my first, I did a lot of reading, listening to podcasts, talking to people.
Mhm.
And I wanted to do a birth center birth, but then I had to go to the hospital kind of like
Oh,
in the
because you're
last
high. Yeah.
month
Hmm.
because of high blood pressure.
Yeah.
I shared about that in our birth story episode, our very first one, our second one we ever did. Um, so I ended up in the hospital. So I tried to bring as much as I could to the hospital that I was planning to bring to the birth center. And I made sure to utilize the birth ball as well. I also like that. It helps when you're doing unmedicated birth, especially because then you can get into different positions. So
Absolutely.
I agree with that point. Um, I had some candles that I wanted to use, but then I couldn't use them in the hospital. So I did have some like of those fake ones, the lights and whatever, but
Yeah.
the lighting didn't bother me in the end. I learned because every time I've given birth, my eyes are closed most of the time anyways. I
Yeah.
am breathing through contractions and I'm concentrating and the lighting doesn't bother me. But I know some people have said that it does and they like having like dim lights and candles and that
Yeah.
relaxed environment. To me, that doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
Um, I had some calming music that we played in the background for a little bit, which was nice. But even better than the calming music, I had hypnobirthing tracks playing in the background.
Oh, you did for Ondor too.
I
Wow.
did, but it was just it was the regular hypnobirthing tracks. It wasn't the Christian hypnobirthing with like the
Yeah.
scriptures and stuff and the prayers.
Yeah.
So I did use a little bit of that, and I had made sure that I knew who my birth team was going to be, and so I, like you, I had a midwife. And then I actually had a student midwife. I really liked her. And so I decided to let her come to my birth as well. And I'm glad that I did. She really helped a lot. I had my own
Yeah.
mother there, and she's been at 3 out of 4 of my births. The only one she didn't attend was the one during COVID when I wasn't allowed anyone else in the room.
Katarina. Yeah.
Otherwise, she would have been to that one too.
Yeah.
Um, and then I had my husband there. My husband, he'll say the same thing. He gets a little bit anxious and worried during birth. Jacqueline has seen this.
I
So
have seen it. Yeah.
he kind of comes and goes, and that's okay with me because I'm a very independent birther, so it works. I do a lot of it on my own, anyways.
See, I
Uh,
couldn't do that.
yeah,
I
and
would be
so
like, Keith, I'm gonna kill you. Just
we're
kidding.
we're all
But
different, and that's the beauty of it, right?
yeah.
um, I did utilize water. I had because I was in the hospital, I couldn't do a pool or a tub, but I did have the shower, and I really liked the water. The water
Mhm.
helped.
The hot
Um,
water.
yeah. So I'd say those are the main things that I used for that birth. Then with my second, I had a home birth. I didn't have a birth pool, but I used a tub. I had a very deep tub, and I used that for most of my early labor. And then I ended up birthing on my bed in the end. And again, it was my birth team that I had, the people that I chose to have there at the birth. And I also chose to, oh, yeah, I had a birth photographer at my first and second birth as well. Um, which, if anyone is thinking about doing that, I highly suggest it. Like, they're great. You don't even know
Mhm.
they're there. And you just talk beforehand about the type of pictures you want. And they're not like, it's not like they're taking pictures like crush shot, of the baby
Full
coming out.
frontal.
Yeah, it's not like that. Like it's actually beautiful. It like tells the whole story of like they'll take pictures of you like while you're in labor and then during birth and then after like those first moments of like the big smiles or the happy tears or the first like look the baby gives you or whatever it is. So it's actually like a full story. They're really beautiful to have.
Yeah.
But that's, I digress. That's another topic. Um, yeah, and then I use the birth ball again, and I use birth affirmations with my second. So I
Yeah.
had them hanging up on the walls in all the rooms that I thought I might be possibly laboring. So my bedroom, the living room, and the washrooms. And it was nice because my birth doula, when I was getting to the moment of like close to transition, starting to kind of doubt myself, which is what everyone does. We've talked about this before too. She was able to just read those birth affirmations that were on my wall out loud to me, which reminded me, oh yeah, because like I said, I close my eyes when I'm in labor, so I don't really look at the walls. I've been reading it all throughout pregnancy, but not during labor. So having someone read them out to me, that was really nice as well,
Yeah.
especially in that moment. Um, yeah, and I think that's about it for the second. And then my third, again, I ended up at the hospital because she had a high heart rate. And that one, I just had a playlist that I created of worship music, and I had that playing the whole time in the background. And it was really nice because I had heard a podcast of a lady say every time she had a contraction, the first thing she did was she prayed. Whoever came to her mind, she prayed for them, which is what I did that birth. I didn't like it as much as my birth with the hypnobirthing, but it still was really nice because it brought me closer to Jesus, which is what, as a Christian, what I want. And I was able to start praying. And it's just funny because when the contractions got really intense, that's when like the people that came to my mind are like the people that I needed to pray for the most. It was really a really cool experience. So having that worship music kind of helped remind me to do that as well.
Yeah.
I didn't really do much else for that one. Like I used the birth ball and I moved around a lot. I used a peanut ball at the very end to try to rest, but still keep the pelvis open. And those work, but they're intense. Kind of like sitting on a toilet. And then my fourth, I had the birth pool because I did a home birth. I had Jacqueline there to help me. I had my mom and my dad and my husband. So my dad was there supporting my husband. That's what we always
Let's be
joke
honest.
about. Exactly. And then I had my Christian hypnobirthing tracks just playing on repeat in the background.
And you had a pool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't really do much else, I don't think. Like I used the birth ball in the very beginning, very early labor, and then I laid down on my bed and I listened to the tracks until the birth pool was filled up. And then I got into the pool and I was pretty much there the whole time, except trying to go to the toilet twice. And then I couldn't handle that.
Yeah.
So that was
I
about it.
remember that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I forgot to say my third one because I'm so like traumatized. I was not prepared for that at all.
Yeah.
The only thing that got me through was my husband pushing pressure on my back and like in between my butt, and like, oh my goodness, every single time I'd have a contraction, he'd stick his hands there so hard, like pressing down, while I would just scream in agony. It was awful. And we did have to transfer the hospital, and it was crazy, but thank goodness it was only a short labor thing there. She was born an hour after we got there. But yeah, again, like I couldn't have prepared myself for that. I don't know if it was the position of her, but it was horrific. But yeah, I would just, yeah, I wish that I could go back and, yeah, who knows if it would have been better if I would have had hypnobirthing, or I have no idea. I look at it, it happened the way it did, and Keith says it was like that so that you knew you didn't want to have any more kids. And I was like, probably.
Maybe.
Because I, for real, was like, no.
Yeah.
Never again.
Yeah. So
good times.
Would you say there's any other tips or ideas that you've seen or heard of for other people, what they like to do for their having that positive environment?
I mean, not really. I think we covered a ton of it. I mean, having, what is it, acupressure? that's really good too.
Yeah.
Um, focusing the pain somewhere else it always helps. Um, I don't know. I can't really think of anything else though.
Yeah.
No,
The um, counter pressure, like the hip squeezes. You've done that for people
I did it a
recently.
lot this last time. Yeah, I went to 2 births back to back, a week apart, and
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely. Double hip squeezes definitely help. They definitely do their job. Um, yeah, I just say like if you are having a baby and you're unsure, just just ask if you're unsure, or like just research. There's so many things that you can look up. There's
Mhm.
tons of information, and if you have any questions, you can ask us as well. But yeah, I would just say it's so important to prepare, because the difference between Petra's birth and my birth are very different, because she prepared herself and her body and her mind. And
Yeah.
whereas I was like, oh, I can do this. This is nothing. Oh, I've done it twice, right?
Yeah.
But really, I learned that I really struggled. So you don't make the same mistake as me. There's so much information out there, and you don't have to struggle. There's so many things that you can do to help get you ready and your baby. And I just say, yeah, educate yourself as much as you can before your baby comes, and you'll go into birth just feeling empowered and excited and not fearful and scared. So,
It's true.
yeah.
Um, I think also kind of knowing what type of person you are, because if you're a more like of an introvert, you're not going to want many people in the room. You're probably going to want it to be more calm and quiet if that's the kind of person you are. Whereas if you're someone who likes to have lots of people around, I
Yeah.
mean, it could always change when you're in labor. Who knows? But you're more likely in that case to be okay with having the people and having a
Yeah.
different experience, right? So kind of figuring out, I'd say, the kind of person you are and what you think you might or might not like. And it doesn't mean you can't change that later, because if you say you thought you'd be okay with more people in the room, you're allowed to change your mind last minute. You're allowed to kick people out. It's your birth. You're the one
Yeah.
who's pushing out that baby. You're the one who needs to feel safe and
Yeah.
calm. So I have heard stories of people who do that, who they're like, you know what, I can't have all these people in the room. I need you to leave. And that's okay. And if you hire a doula, you just tell the doula, and the doula will kick them out for you.
Mm-hmm.
Or your spouse, you tell your husband, okay, I need everyone else to leave, then hopefully he'll be able to help do that for you, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I think that's something to remember as well.
Yeah, because you don't know until you're in that situation.
Yeah. This time around, some ways that I'm preparing for this baby, which right now, what are we? We're the end of April and baby's due the beginning of July. So
Like
yeah,
three
like
months.
just over a couple months, like just over 2 months. What I've been doing is I've been listening to my Christian hypnobirthing tracks again as often as I can.
Yeah.
Just getting it kind of into my brain so that when I hear it, it's like this positive trigger that reminds me, okay, you can relax. You're okay. Your body was made for this. Um, Reminding me like I can go to Jesus and say, you know what, you can get me through this. You're my strength, right? So
Yeah.
I've been listening to all of that. I have created scripture affirmations that I have for sale on Etsy, and I printed them out myself, and I laminated them and I cut them out. And I'm going to be putting those up on my wall, I think with some lights this time, maybe. And I'm not sure. We'll see. And so that I can start reading those now that I only have a couple months and I'm getting closer. And I'm going to be reading those all the time. I'm going to make sure that I have my birth pool ready to go again this time, that I've blown it up ahead of time, tested it, checked it. Deciding my birth team, kind of who I feel comfortable having around. And I think this time I'm probably actually going to have the kids around because they've said that they wanted to. My other births have all kind of been at nighttime.
Yeah.
But they've said they wanted us to wake them up. So I think I might actually do that this time, especially now that it's not my first and I know how I am. I think I'll be okay with I won't be able to have them like right with me, like holding a child, but if they can just be close by, I don't think it would bother me at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing that. And then kind of like you mentioned earlier, the snacks I'm going to be preparing. I've always liked coconut water for some quick electrolytes and energy for a drink. But then I'm going to have a few snacks that I can have as well for at least for early labor.
Yeah.
I like that idea of popsicles. I'm probably going to do that.
Popsicles are the best.
Yeah. So I might do that as well.
I can feed you popsicles.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're the best. They're so good.
Yeah. I mean, they taste good and they're cool and refreshing, right? So.
Oh my gosh. Exactly. Totally.
Yeah. So I'd say those are some of the things that I'm doing right now to try to prepare for my next birth environment.
It's crazy. It's coming up so soon.
I know. Before we know it, I'll be able to share that story as well on here.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So fast. But yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know I mean, there's probably other things that you could do to create that environment that's suitable for you, but I think we covered some of the main ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Just be educated, be prepared.
Yeah, exactly.
Be a Petra, not a Jacqueline.
Funny.
We need to have a hashtag. Be a Petra, not a Jacqueline. But for real, be prepared because it'll be better.
That's true. You want this experience to be something that you look back on and say, you know what, that was good. Not something you look back on and go, oh, I wish, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it might not go exactly as planned, and it might not be the same way you thought you'd want it to be.
Absolutely.
Things can change. But if you plan for it, it's better than not knowing and not planning anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would have to agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, we hope you learned something.
Yeah. And if there's anything else that you guys want to add to it, share it in the comments.
Absolutely.
So that we can all learn from it and hear some of the other ideas out there that we may have missed.
Yeah.
And if you haven't yet, please like, subscribe, follow, and share, because it really helps get our podcast out there so that other people can benefit from these as well.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you all.
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
until next time.
What
the mom?